I think is a really important one, and it's gotten a lot of attention in the field. And like I think a lot of other things, there's a lack of clarity about what we actually know and what we should be recommending to people. So let's take a step back and start with the animal studies, the mouse studies. I think there it's pretty clear that you can extend lifespan through protein restriction. And there are actually, again, a couple of flavors of protein restriction. You can restrict all protein down to, some percentage, some low percentage, or you can restrict specific amino acids, particularly
branch chains.
Tryptophan, methionine, or branch chain amino acids are the ones that have been studied. And again, I make that distinction because it's not really clear that the mechanisms are the same across these different flavors of protein restriction. The common mechanism that does seem to potentially underlie all of these forms of protein restriction is inhibition of mTOR. And again, that's partly why this becomes complicated especially when we start talking about extrapolation to human. You and I both recognize that inhibition of mTOR can have beneficial effects in the context of aging and health span, certainly in mice, almost certainly in people, I would say. And protein is an activator of mTOR. And we know a fair amount about the biochemistry of that particularly branch chain amino acids can directly activate mTOR through cestrins, and that's sort of all worked out. And so it seems intuitive that protein restriction would be beneficial by turning down mTOR. It seems counterintuitive that what you were just talking about would be beneficial because you might be hyperactivating mTOR. So we can dive into that.
Yep.
But I think that's kind of that's the simplest possible mechanism I can think of for why protein restriction, especially branch chain amino acid restriction, would be having an impact on lifespan and health span in mice. The other player that seems to be important, particularly in total protein restriction, is a protein called FGF21, fibroblast growth factor 21, that is secreted in response to a low protein diet, and then has effects on liver metabolism and also inhibition of mTOR, reduction of IGF-1. So that seems to be required for the lifespan extension that is seen from protein restriction in mice, potentially partially upstream of mTOR and liver metabolism.